Dear learners, I welcome you all to this module on plucking of tea, which is part of the MOOC on capacity building of tea growers. In the previous module, we have discussed how the tea bushes are periodically pruned to keep the branches more or less permanently in a vegetative phase so that there is more and more new shoot growth. In this module, we shall discuss plucking in sufficient detail. Plucking, which is carried out at 7 to 14 days intervals almost throughout the year, is one of the most important practices, and it accounts for 15 to 20% of the cost of tea production. Further, plucking alone involves about 60 to 70% of the total labor force, making the tea cultivation a labor-intensive trade. Plucking in tea is actually the harvesting of the crop. During plucking, recurrent checks and stimulus are provided to the bush by continuous removal of vegetative organs at frequent intervals. This encourages regeneration of shoots on a tea bush. In this operation, a delicate balance is maintained between immediate gain and the capacity of the bush to generate new shoots for harvest. After pruning or skiffing, new shoots develop from the dormant buds or the stakes. These are called primaries. The primaries are decapitated or tipped at the predetermined height, leaving some leaves below the level to make a flat plucking surface or table. Some of the primaries may become dormant before reaching the height. However, some of such primaries may throw out a new flush or come above the plucking level. After the primary shoot has been tipped, new shoots arise from the auxiliary buds, and these shoots are harvested or plucked when they grow above the tipping level. While plucking, normally a small piece of stem containing the genomes are left behind on the bush. Plucking of the laterals or new shoots again stimulates the production of new generation of shoots of the next higher order from the axils of genomes, and the process continues. This process of harvesting the shoots above the table is called plucking in tea. Now let us try to understand the term tipping. The initial few rounds of plucking are called tipping. When the primaries grow above a predetermined height after pruning or skiffing, they are tipped or decapitated at that height parallel to the ground surface. The main objectives of tipping are to establish a flat plucking surface for convenient plucking and to stimulate the auxiliary buds below the level to grow to form the plucking surface or table. The best tipping height from the point of view of yield is the natural Banzi horizon of the shoot system or a pruned bush. The height in a normal bush is 20 centimeters, which corresponds to 5 leaves on an average. However, the average height of 5 leaves may vary between 15 centimeter and 30 centimeters depending on the type of tea, its vigor, and the thickness of the wood on which pruning is done. We can have a look at the tipping heights for different types of prunes or skips in the following picture. Now let us look at what is known by maintenance foliage. All mature leaves left on the bush below the tipping and plucking surface are called maintenance leaves or foliage. The growth of shoots which are harvested is dependent on the maintenance foliage. The young tea leaves cannot manufacture carbohydrate because they are not efficient for photosynthesis. In a tea leaf, the capacity of manufacturing food material develops gradually, and the leaf does not attain full psychological efficiency until it has grown to half of its full size, that is, 5 weeks from unfolding of a leaf. Even the third leaf on an actively growing shoot imports photosynthesis from the maintenance leaves. Young shoots on a plucked bush are removed so fast, and their constant removal stimulates production of new shoots at such a rapid rate that the maintenance leaves are essential for sustained productivity and survival of a plucked tea bush. The maintenance leaves manufacture carbohydrates which are translocated to the growing shoots for their own growth. Photosynthetic efficiency of the maintenance foliage is retained for about 6 months, after which it gradually declines and the leaves ultimately drop off after about 18 months. By tipping the primaries or laterals in light prune or skipped bushes at different heights, a new layer of maintenance leaves are provided to the bush for efficient photosynthesis. Now, let us look at the plucking system. The system of plucking followed in Northeast India is known as janam plucking. That means shoots are plucked leaving the janams. The other systems of plucking adopted in other countries are fish leaf plucking and single leaf plucking. In fish leaf plucking, shoots are plucked leaving the fish leaf, while in single leaf plucking, it is done leaving the janam, fish leaf, and one single foliage leaf. The different systems of plucking can be shown in terms of this picture. Now, what is known as standard of plucking? Standard of plucking denotes the type of shoots harvested. Depending on the length of plucking round or type of shoots harvested, there are 5 standards of plucking. These are fine, standard, medium, coarse, and black. However, only 2 standards of plucking are generally followed. These are black plucking and standard plucking. In black plucking, almost all types of shoots above the plucking table are plucked, while in standard plucking, small shoots with one leaf are not plucked and are allowed to retain on the table. Now, what is plucking round? Plucking round is the time interval in days between the successive plucking operations. It varies from 4 to 14 days, although 7 days round is the most common practice. Plucking should be adjusted to the time interval between unfolding of successive leaves on a growing shoot, that is, leaf period. If the leaf period is 4 days, then the shoot with one leaf and the growing bud of today will become a shoot with 2 leaves within next 4 days and a shoot with 3 leaves within 8 days. In most of the tea estates of Northeast India, tea bushes are plucked at weekly intervals from April to December, and there is marked dormant season during winter when practically no crop is harvested. Normally, towards the end of the season, when the growth rate declines, the plucking round is extended. Undue rise of plucking table results in the loss of the crop. The rise in the plucking table during the season due to continuous plucking is unavoidable. To avoid undue creep, it is advisable to pluck close to janam. Now, we shall quickly have a look at the term breaking back. Breaking back is generally a wasteful and expensive operation. It is an operation of removing the thick or knotted stems to level off the plucking table. Longer rounds because of shortage of labor, improper supervision, etc. lead to undue creep. When this happens, breaking back becomes necessary. Breaking back is also done to maintain the quality of green leaves. If the size of the shoot is large, then the shoot is plucked close to the janam and the lower portion of the shoot is thrown away, keeping the desired portion of the shoot. Now, what is Banzi Suits? Banzi Suits above the plucking table or surface present a special problem. If they are not plucked, they tend to make the bush surface uneven. If a single Banzi is left on the plucking table until the bud starts to grow again, the shoot is normally to be plucked at a higher level, since the stem of such a shoot generally becomes very hard. Now, the following points should be taken into consideration at the time of plucking. Plucking should be done from one end of a row or hedge. The shoots should be plucked just below the fish leaf and above the janam mark. While plucking, old leaves, hard portion of the tender growing shoot with 2 or 3 leaves, bruised leaves should not come into the plucking basket. The growing buds and the small shoots with one leaf should be left on the table. All the Banzi shoots on the plucking table should be removed. The old leaves protruding above the plucking table should be removed to keep the table level. The shoots below the tipping level or plucking table should never be plucked. Proper care should be taken to keep the creep within the permissible limit. Micania is a noxious creeper weed which sometimes covers the plucking table, making the plucking difficult. The creeper should be uprooted along with the root while plucking. In drought-prone areas, step-up plucking by one leaf in unpruned bushes should be done in the beginning of the season. Now, we shall have a look at plucking under different conditions. Plucking during the early season. For maximization of crop, unpruned bushes at the start of the year should be plucked close to Janam, leaving small growing shoots with one leaf. If the bushes are not having adequate layer of maintenance foliage, the table should be raised by one full leaf at the beginning of the season. Now we shall look at plucking during rain flush crop. Generally, about 45% of the annual crop is harvested during the peak cropping months of July to September. To achieve the maximum production in this period, shorter plucking round may be followed. In unavoidable circumstances, very light skipping may be imparted in unpruned bushes, but not as regular practice. Care should be taken to check the undue rise of the plucking table. Step-up plucking during the period should not be done. Similarly, under droughty conditions, liberal plucking may be practiced at the beginning of the season to provide an active layer of green foliage in uprooted bushes. Plucking of waterlogged bushes is also a matter of concern. Hard plucking at shorter intervals should be done to avoid Banzi formation in such a condition. Plucking during the blister, blight or pest attack is another major concern. Prior to tipping, medium pruned or light pruned bushes experiencing severe infestation of blister, blight, which is expected to continue for some time due to favorable weather condition of its occurrence, should initially be tipped low, retaining 3 or 4 layers of maintenance foliage in the bush. On expiry of the vulnerable weather condition and after the control of the disease, plucking table may be raised to the recommended height. In unpruned tea attacked by blister, blight, all tender shoots should be removed through black plucking. In the event of pest infestation like strips or helopiltis attack, black plucking should be done. Now, how should be the plucking basket or the plucking bag? The pluckers may use small plucking baskets to keep the plucked green leaves and large baskets for unloading the leaves from the plucking basket. The basket may be made up of cane or bamboo. However, the baskets should be smooth to avoid bruising before damaging the green leaves. Nowadays, nylon bags are also used, which are light and airy. While plucking, it is to be noted that the pluckers do not keep the plucked leaves pressing tightly in the basket or bag. The plucked green leaves should be handled carefully to avoid any damage. If the leaves are bruised or damaged, they produce inferiority. The following care should be taken in handling the green leaves. Do not allow the pluckers to keep the plucked leaves longer in their hands. They should be instructed to put the leaves in the basket or the bag frequently. Do not put the green leaves in the basket or bag pressing tightly. An ideal plucking basket should accommodate not more than 25 kg of green leaves. Do not keep the baskets containing the green leaves in direct sunlight. Do not keep the plucked leaves longer in the field. They should be sent to the factory as early as possible. Before sending the leaves to the factory or before collecting the leaves by the agents, the green leaves should be spread thinly on bamboo racks, under shade, or in thatched roofed house. Care should be taken not to generate heat in the basket. While transporting the green leaves, it is better to carry the leaves in baskets or plastic crates. Never allow the workers to sit on the green leaves being carried in the vehicle. So, from this module, we have learned that the plucking in tea is synonymous with harvesting in other crops. The tender apical portions of shoots consisting of 2 to 3 leaves and the terminal buds are nipped off in plucking. Plucking encourages regeneration of shoots on a tea bush. The initial few rounds of plucking are called tipping. While the primaries grow above the predetermined height after pruning or skiffing, they are tipped at the height parallel to the ground surface for establishing a flat plucking table. By tipping, the maintenance leaves are retained in the bush and those leaves support the new growth. The system of plucking followed in Northeast India is called Janam plucking. Standard of plucking denotes the type of shoots harvested. The two common standards of plucking followed are standard plucking and black plucking. Green leaves after plucking should be handled with proper care to avoid further damage. So, we come to the end of this module. See you again in the next module. Till then, bye.